Well, first of all, thanks everybody for being here. Good morning. Obviously, tomorrow is a very somber and difficult day for EPS. It's been 1 year since Constables Travis Jordan and Brett Ryan were killed in the line of duty. We have spent the last year leaning on each other, honoring Travis and Brett's legacy while grieving the process and processing their loss. Despite it, our people did not shy away from their responsibilities they've been bound to. Even in the darkest moments, they showed up remarkably with a lot of resiliency. Part of that resiliency has been fueled by the outpouring of support that we receive from the public, our partners, other police agencies, police services. We certainly have not walked this path alone, and for that, we just want to again thank all of them for being there for us and with us. Most importantly, our Employee and Family Assistance Services section has been working hard to support officers, civilian staff over the past year. They literally have just done yeoman's work in helping all of us deal with the tragedies and the loss of. Tomorrow, the service will honor Travis and Brett's sacrifice. We will add their names to our memorial book and the regimental colors. Our fallen officers, and I just want to be very clear, will never be forgotten. Their spirit will continue, inspiring the ranks of officers for years to come. These two were great community leaders, great human beings, and people that we really, really miss in our service. Thank you to everyone again for support EPS, the Jordan and Ryan families. We ask that we continue to respect the family's privacy as we get through this painful milestone. Thank you for being here, and certainly we can answer questions.
Use the microphone right there, please.
Just Jeremy Thompson with CTV.
Hey, Jeremy.
I understand there's sort of an extensive review process that goes on after a serious incident like this. I'm wondering how that is going and what sort of findings there have been. You know, I'm not sure what there is to learn out of a situation like this, considering like an ambush kind of thing.
You know what? We've looked at this every which way that we can. Certainly there'll be other things from a provincial nature that'll come at a later time. But I can sit here and say, you know, there's nobody that could have prevented this. This is one of those things. Our folks did their job that day. They did it well. To your point, I think you hit it on the head. It was an ambush. And the reality is, as we've unfolded, unpacked, looked at everything, we've even done a debrief over the last few days, last week, just letting everybody express some of their own thoughts. Obviously, I'm part of the reparation and healing journey, but we can honestly say that this is one of those things. There's only one bad person in this particular situation that chose to take the lives of our officers. And obviously, there's been subsequent charges in the investigation. So no stone is left unturned. But I just want to make it very, very clear: it's not by a mistake that somebody made that we landed in this tragic situation.
And what can you say about you know, just the interactions you've had with the officers' families and how they're sort of processing that?
You know, the families are tough. They're resilient. I mean, they're grieving. They're devastated. They've had a huge loss. It's something that we, even if we could, you just can't bring back. And they're strong human beings. They're just great people. And, you know, as much as we hope we've helped them, they've helped us get through this too. So I can't say enough about the entire family on both sides for both officers. They're just remarkable human beings.
Hi, Chief.
Hi.
Morgan with Global Edmonton. Condolences on this difficult few days. Do we have any further details as to the why, the motive behind this incident?
You know, again, not a lot, as we've said over and over and over. This individual is obviously, you know, there was a health interaction with him, as we've said several times in weeks past, and you know, that person is no longer here, so nobody's going to really know. But we do know that there's nothing that we could have did to respond differently. Our folks did their job very well and paid the ultimate sacrifice in their lives. But as I said earlier, there's only one person that's responsible for this, and it's not by the mistake of our officers.
the individual's mother spent a long time in hospital. Do you have an update on her, how she's doing, her recovery?
Again, the last I had heard, which wasn't, weeks ago, I guess now, is she's out of the hospital. I mean, obviously, significant scarring and things that she will have to get through emotionally, and I can't imagine how tough that is on her either. But at least she is alive. And subsequently has got to deal with a lot of things, I can imagine, as she works through her healing journey as well.
Andrea Hunkar, CBC. I was just thinking that these deaths are such a stark reminder of what police have, the risk that they have every day when they go out onto the street or they're working. How do officers process this and kind of find the courage and the resolve to keep going, and what supports are given at EPS to help them through this?
Yeah, no, great question, Andrea. Obviously, our training plays a large role in this. Our officers are trained very well to respond to situations like this. They're very committed. That speaks to, the recruiting process and finding the right people. As far as internally, we have probably one of the best in the world reintegration program and dealing with that. We've added significant resources with our psychologists and certainly nursing staff to obviously real focus on wellness. Actually, it's our number one. Officer wellness is one of our number one concerns in relation to how we continue to build that resiliency to actually deal with this stuff. But I think it speaks a lot to the character of the men and women that work for EPS. In any other police service that goes through this, they sign up and they make a commitment, and they're by and large very, very dedicated men and women that believe in what they do. They believe in who they are, and they believe in protecting not just the police service but the citizens of Edmonton, and we're pretty lucky and fortunate to have that.
One more from me here.
You
It's,
bet.
I'm wondering what your sense is of how the community is sort of processing this incident. Speaking with the area councillor, and she said that a lot of the folks in like Woodcroft, Westmount area, they felt like there had been some sort of serious incidents leading up to this incident. Obviously the shooting involving the suspect or the person, and maybe some incidents along 118 Ave area kind of thing before that. And there was some safety concerns in the neighborhood, and then this was just sort of after sort of community sessions, the thinking was if this could happen to police officers, what does that mean for the rest of us, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this lots, and, as I mentioned, and certainly some of our officers have mentioned and our leadership has mentioned, we're very focused on the violence right now. We've added resources, particularly in the guns and gangs strategy. We're certainly, I use the words empathy and accountability. We certainly got the vulnerable population. That's the empathy side. But those that choose to do harm in our people need to be held accountable by the justice system. We're hoping C-48 from C-75 will help with that, but there needs to be some accountability when we're picking up these violent individuals, that they need to be held in custody, and they need to be held responsible and accountable. We're going to continue to push that. At the end of the day, this is our city, as in EPS, and certainly the citizens that live here, and those that choose harm are going to be held accountable. So I think first and foremost is we can't take any of this for granted. It's hard work, but we're committed to doing the work, and we've got the resources that are committed to doing the work as well. And honestly, it's one at a time. We'll address them as they come, but again, I don't want to take away from the fact that there was nothing leading up to this, even the shooting in the Pizza Hut, which I've actually talked to that individual since, that leads to this. And I think we got to stop speculating that there's a secret out there. The reality is those stones have been turned over, and we're in a good place of getting the answers. But to the other question that asked earlier is, we'll never know the reasons why. We just know that obviously somebody doing that type of act was committed to what they were doing, and that's something that we as a society have to make sure, if there's things in place that we can get earlier, we got to get that, and we're going to continue to push that.
Jackie with the Journal.
Hey, Jackie.
Did this change any procedures or call for any additional training on dealing with domestic situations?
No, but that doesn't mean we're not going to continue to review that, because there's nothing that suggests that if we trained differently would have changed this, because it was in, an ambush mode. But we're always going to look at that. We're going to talk to our people, which we did last week. We're going to accumulate what that is, and if there's steps that we can take anytime we have a critical incident like this, we'll change it. And but as specific to training, our folks are trained well. But sometimes there's just evil in this world, and we need to try to figure out that how we're going to hold those individuals accountable earlier on. As you've heard us say many times, a lot of, not just our officers, but a lot of the homicides that take place in this city are people that were in custody or had done previous acts, and we're going to continue to push forward on that.
I was just curious, you mentioned the victim in Pizza Hut, that you talked to him. I wondered if you could give us an update, how he is doing, how the staff are doing.
Yeah.
And also, I know you said you couldn't speak to motive in the ambush, but I wonder, was there a motive? Did you uncover anything there?
Not that we're aware of in relation to it. Again, when we're talking about random, and you've heard the Edmonton Police Service use the word random before. We shouldn't be shocked when we hear random, and random generally means that unpredictable, nothing that led up to it in relation to it. When I met with that particular individual in the question, he's got a healing journey of his own, and obviously has the scars and some of the mental and emotional scars as well that go along with that. They're going to take some time, but again, he's resilient, and we wish him and his family and those employees nothing but the best as they all recover for this. These crimes have an emotional and mental drain on a lot of people that have been touched by it, and I don't think we should ever lose sight of that.
Is there funds available for someone who is in a victim of a crime like that? Because I had looked at one point, and there was victim funding available, and then it seems it got taken away at some point. It changed, and there was supports, but no money, like monetary.
I'm not aware of it ever being taken away. I think there's some. I don't know what the amount is, but most provinces in the country have the ability to apply for those things, and of course, then the employers obviously play a role in some of this as well. So I mean, again. We're not here to point fault at anybody or say that nobody's being looked after, because I think people are dealing with this the best they can all the way around, and I don't see that as the major issue right now. The bigger issue, and I think you hit on that earlier, Andrew, is we got to continue to focus on holding these people accountable before they do this stuff, period. And I mean, if that means better information sharing between the health system and the justice system, I mean, come on, it's 2024. Let's get on with it.
You created the hubs, like right across North America. Is that kind of what you're talking about
well,
there?
Well, no, it's just any time when we've got safety and there's the safety concerns, and we can stop that, whether it's policing, whether it's the justice system, whether it's the health system, whether it's the social service system, the education system. There's an obligation on us to do that, and I think we're getting a lot better at that.
Like, what would you like to see implemented?
Just the accountability of the system. So if somebody's going in and they've been in court and they've got a length thing, and this isn't specific to this incident, we're talking about other incidents now, so I want to make sure we clarify that. When somebody's got all these different things that they've been involved in, there's probably something going on that this person might need to pause and be held in custody and find out what's going on before continuing to release them on the street every day.
Chief, you mentioned a service tomorrow. Do you mind is that open to the public? Do you just have more details?
It's just an internal thing, and that's why we wanted to just talk about it today and give you the opportunity to ask questions. It's just part of our healing journey, so it's just going to be our own membership and our own people, not open to the public or anybody else, and it's just another way that we can recognize, obviously, Travis and Brett, but at the same time is go through our own healing as well.
we heard a lot of stories about these two and how wonderful they were. You know, we talked
Yeah.
about the snow angel incident and things
Yeah.
like that. Are there any other stories of courage or kindness that emerged that you have heard?
There's lots of stories that have been shared over the time, and I think the theme, though, is you just kind of nailed it: courage and kindness. Like it's what you want of your people, and both of them emulated that, and it also emulates in their families. And and I think it's hard to find a specific incident because there's several when you start talking to the squad and the patrol mates. I don't know, Darren, if there's anything you want to add to that, but I think it's just who they were.
Just wondering if you know of any sort of further honors that might be made for the constables, Constable Daniel Woodall School kind of thing, and Ezio Frone Park.
Yeah, I think we'll be working on things like that. I think it's a nice recognition, but do I have any details in relation to that today? No, but hopefully that is something that is helps the memory last in a very designated and specific way.
What kind of mechanism can you envision that would help police, social, health, education, these agencies work better together, get more information to avert future tragedies?
It's basically working collectively together. I mean, we talked about the hub models. I mean, we got a perfect example right now is in our navigation center that's being stood up for the vulnerable. When you put decision makers in the room, good things happen. You have the people that can make the decisions and you get it done. And I think as you look at that, we always look too often at moving from one system to the other. It's not a policing, it's a health issue, it's thing. The reality, it touches all those issues. If you go back and study some of the issues here, there's probably a path that they've been in all of those entities and dating back to education. And I think it's just actually putting people in a room, getting over ourselves and say, you know what, when safety's in jeopardy, let's just figure out how we intervene versus how we react after it happens.
And will there be an increase of that in the future?
Well, we've always are pushing for that. I mean, but at the same time, something happens in the world and we react sometimes. And, a prime example of that is when we take our officers out of schools. Like, I mean, we go backwards and then we got to start doing it again. So, again, when you know something works and it's for the right reasons, let's focus on how we improve it versus actually starting over again with something new, the neatest and greatest thing that probably doesn't work.
So just one more round of questions here.
To me, Chief, it was wild to me that it had been a year. Like, does this all
Yeah,
just feel
it's-
surreal to you?
Yeah, it does. It does. And, I think for us here, and Darren and I in particular, we still, when we went in that night, what you see is you never unsee. But to think it's been a year and the constant contact, it just brings memories back. And it just, brings it to the top again. But the good part of that is that we always, on this date, should be remembering, and we should be remembering it throughout the year. So I don't think anybody that was ever involved in that incident hasn't had a day where they haven't thought about it in some way or the other. And it's just part of the time in the healing process is to continue to be able to talk about it openly. So we really appreciate you guys being here today as well.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, folks. Really appreciate it.